Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be really interesting, and it is in fact going to be about 70% drama video probably, and about 30% actual productive discussion that I would encourage people to have and use their critical thinking, because unlike most of the channels, I do not necessarily want to speak for everybody. I want everybody to use their own critical thinking and think for themselves and make their own decisions. However, all that being said, first and foremost, I want to make sure that everybody understands that I do not have any personal grudges or any personal dislikes towards any single member of CCP. I do not know them all that well. I have spoken with a bunch of them, obviously, over the occasion. A bunch of them seem like cool guys. A bunch of them seem like guys I probably wouldn't want to hang out too much with. But overall, I still don't have any kind of like negative feelings towards them, and in fact some of them I definitely do respect quite highly when it comes to their kind of like intellectual ability and their thought process. I often base a lot of my conclusions on initial feedback from, let's say, Cam or Brian Grant or a couple of other content creators, and in my world that's kind of quite high praise. So definitely this is not meant to kind of like directly target anybody specifically from the CCP. However, there were obviously a lot of people that were less than happy with me for covering leaked information. I want to make that distinction very clear. I am not somebody who had quote-unquote a spy in CCP. I'm not somebody who leaked the information I shouldn't have. I'm not somebody who's under NDA or embargo or whatever. I am somebody who happened to come across the information that I found interesting that I covered on my YouTube channel. Now, it just so happened that that information was leaked from CCP, which obviously caused a lot of trouble and anger, I guess, in CCP members. But let's make something very clear now. I could have ignored all the passive-aggressive comments directly towards me with a bit of a smirk on my face at that point. But at the point when somebody with a lot of followers starts tagging me on Twitter and all but kind of, I don't know, makes me look like the spawn of the devil with no morals and this extremely horrible human being, how dare I cover a leaked information? How dare I do this injustice? And how dare I talk about things that I shouldn't have access to or shouldn't have stumbled upon? So, again, first and foremost, I didn't know the information came from CCP, and second of all, at the point I got it, it was fast becoming a public knowledge because it was traveling through the line rooms. But that being said, how dare I cover leaked information? Let's just see what happens when we type in MCOC leak quickly on YouTube. So I type in MCOC, you can see next champions leaked, champion abilities leaked, upcoming offers leaked, event quest leaked, results leaked, and yeah, to me, it kind of looks like pretty much every single one of the people who were calling me out for the immorality of covering information that has been leaked had done pretty much exactly the same. You can see that, yep, all of them beautiful CCP members, every single one pretty much, well, obviously not every single one, I'm sure that there are a couple missing, but we get the point. Everybody covers leaks. That is something YouTube does. That is a part of YouTube. People do cover leaked information, whether it is about this game, whether it is about MCU or Marvel in general, or any other kind of like production, because that's interesting. That's fun. It's always interesting to chase information early or be one of the first people to know and find out something. And I get it. And I just showed you that the same people who criticize me also get it and also do the same thing. The only difference in these two occasions is where the information came from. Now, some of the information previously discussed in these YouTube videos they showcase were either data mined, or it was leaked from some, I don't know, Japanese forum, or it was leaked from alliances, depending obviously on which individual subject we are talking about. All of these leaks have to come from somewhere. Now, the one key difference in this case is that the leak I covered yesterday came from CCP, right? And that's why, unsurprisingly, members of CCP are not too happy. And they shouldn't be. They fucked up. Like, that is that. I'm not, like, again, trying to speak ill. Obviously, this information wasn't meant to come out. It did. I spoke about it. But make no mistake there, somebody in CCP messed up, so I would definitely greatly appreciate if people kind of like stopped poking me for their own mistakes and stop trying to climb this high horse on the moral high ground that how dare I cover information that is leaked. Every single one of them has done exactly the same thing. Every single one of them has gotten their hands on the information that was not or should not have been officially released by Kabam, and they have spoken about it at length time and time again. Only difference in this case is because kind of shoe is on the other foot, because instead of anybody else kind of like being to blame, it's themselves this time. And I have zero sympathy for that. Like, maybe I should do, maybe at some level do, but effectively that is their mess up. And that is something they have to deal with. If they want to kind of make me a really bad person for covering the leaked information, then so be it. I'm not in a desperate, dire need to kiss and hug and make up with anybody. But I also think that hypocrisy that's involved in here cannot possibly go ignored, and I was ready and prepared to ignore it up until a point where, yes, people found the need to kind of like tag me and address me directly with their tweets and with their anger, which is fine. You're upset, I get it. Again, I'm not mad about it. I just decided to address it this time. Maybe after 3 days, you see things, when you have calmed down, they see things differently, or maybe they're still gonna look at me as an absolute scumbag of an asshole that completely destroyed the trust that CCP has built with Kabam. And speaking of trust that CCP has built with Kabam, now some people obviously over dramatizing the situation are saying this could be the end of the CCP, or no, it won't be, because any rational person will not punish an entire group of players for actions of a single individual. As in, for example, if my brother just so happens to go and rob a liquor store and gets, I don't know, locked up for, I don't know, 7 days in a prison, it's not the entire family that's going to the prison, or it's not the entire circle of his friends and acquaintances. It's the one person who actually committed the deed. Now, in this case, I personally myself have no idea who the leaker was. And I don't want to know, because I don't care whether they find him or not. Maybe I should, but I generally don't. I'm sure as hell not going to be offering any kind of like help in their investigation. It's their snitch, their problem. I don't know, their leaker, their problem. Yeah, at the same time, I think rationally, Kabam is obviously a rational entity because they're business and they're there to make money, and they do not typically make emotional decisions. And anybody who covers this from a rational ground would not punish an entire group, so it's quite alright. I think CCP is quite fine at large there. But last thing that I want to talk about, and this is going to be the last 30% of the video, so this is maybe going to be the end of the drama bit, but just like an objective kind of like conversation, because a lot of also kind of like things and have been said that now this is hurting Kabam's communication with the players, because the players are showing that they cannot be trusted, and everybody, including myself, have been advocating for more communication with the player base, but this is hindering all that. Well, first and foremost, I personally want to make the distinction that CCP does not mean player base. Yes, CCP is composed of the members of the player base, but they in no way, shape or form represent the entire community or player base, no more so than I do individually. They are people with opinions, and in this case also direct access to Kabam, but they are not, I don't know, elected council. They are not a representation of every single level of player or every single mindset or every single, I don't know, geographical location. Something. They are people who have created YouTube channels or other avenues of content, creation, and they have applied for it and they effectively got the job, and that is the key aspect there, because they got the job because they got accepted, and the acceptance of their status in the CCP also comes with certain privileges. Now, vast majority of them do not get paid salary or money directly as such, even though I'm sure at this point that at least some of them do, especially if said someone is appearing on their YouTube channel and doing actual work for them directly rather than from their own channel. But again, that's perfectly fine. And if I got paid, I do exactly the same thing. And I'm not trying to put myself on any moral high horse saying that, they're not objective and I am. Because should the opportunity present itself, and if Kabam made me an offer worthwhile enough, obviously, there is a very good chance that I would accept it and I would shut my mouth about certain issues about the game, and I would possibly stop criticizing if I was told not to criticize them. But the point being is, CCP in its core is a group of players who are financially benefiting from this information that Kabam is giving them access to, therefore not hindering the relationship in between Kabam and the members of CCP is obviously what they so deeply care about, which explains why they're so mad, because somebody leaked and which it could potentially hinder CCP. By extension, it could also hinder the amount of money they can make from the videos. Like, because again, they do not get paid directly, but information and early access to information and early access to champions nobody else has access to, and ability to make these videos obviously significantly impact the amount of people who would be watching your videos if they want to find out information first, right? Again, just saying. But yeah, so just, you don't have to pay somebody $10 directly to give them a new exclusive champion. That said person is going to make a video of new said exclusive champion and make $10 more from YouTube than they normally would have. For instance, obviously we're not talking $10, we're talking much more. But point being is, I'm trying not to get lost in my train of thought here. CCP is not necessarily a representation, in my opinion, of the player base. CCP is much more like employees to a degree. Now, there are people who obviously do give Kabam a lot of feedback without any monetary gain from it, like Cam and a bunch of others. But in its core, objectively, I cannot trust everything that Kabam CCP members say, because obviously, even if not intentionally, then unintentionally or subconsciously, they are less likely to criticize Kabam and pull their punches where things are not going right, or just ignore the topics altogether and focus on the good things, focus on the bright things and ignore the bad things. So you do not necessarily have to kind of like skew your opinion. You also can just keep your mouth shut about some problems, for instance. But the point being is, and when people are advocating for Kabam having better communication with their player base, I personally not necessarily mean Kabam having the best and hardiest relationship with CCP. I mean Kabam releasing more surveys. I think of Kabam releasing more threads where they directly ask the question. I think threads like give us Grandmaster fight feedback, where a lot of people participated in. I think, yeah, directly released surveys which you can take part of, or surveys from in-game kind of like sent to you. Those are the type of communications I want to see most, not necessarily all of these issues being discussed in CCP. Now, again, I don't have anything against CCP, and if they're doing well, that's fine. All I'm saying is I'm not willing to put in kind of like 100% of my trust or my representation in front of Kabam in the hands of CCP, because that's not something I'd feel comfortable with. Again, if you were to compare this, let's say, with a country, then in this case, at this point already, because a vast majority of the content creators that have significant influence on YouTube are in CCP. So if you were to imagine a situation where in the country where vast majority of the media is directly paid by the government, this media is meant to cover, right? So imagine like states, I don't know, let's go USA. So imagine if in USA all of the media would be controlled by the government, or at least paid for the government. Would everybody be okay with that? Is that a great thing to happen? Or is that the media that you won't trust? No, because that is what YouTubers realistically are. They cover the events of game, and in this case from CCP they cover exclusive information, but they also have all but exclusive access, and they have vast majority of the people watching them as a monopoly, so they can push any narrative or any idea they choose to do so. And the whole idea of the things being that way not necessarily encourage me. So when somebody comes to me crying that this might hinder the amount of information CCP gets from Kabam, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. That's a bigger discussion I would be willing to have. But if CCP all of a sudden gets less information from Kabam because, quote unquote, they can't be trusted because they leak information, inherently, on a personal level, I don't automatically view that as a bad thing. Because in my mind, communication by Kabam with player base should not revolve as CCP its centerpiece. And this is not me trying to be jealous or, I don't know, saying, oh, because I'm not in CCP. I'm just saying from fundamentally simple standpoint, I don't think that people who directly benefit with a privileged status and privileged information via monetized content, and that therefore money, are the best people to necessarily represent the community. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it at all, but I'm definitely saying that's not where majority of the feedback and communication lines should be directed to. And that is it, I guess. That is going to be me done rambling. So now, since I have pretty much said everything I wanted to say, at this point, let's just show you guys Baby Yoda whilst you head over to the comment section and angrily type what kind of a douchebag I am for doing exactly the same thing that every single one of you have done. But yeah, no, jokes aside. Anyways, hope you guys liked the video. I hope also that the final bit of you did give some consideration for you, because I have absolutely zero illusions. There are many people who don't like me, and I will never be able to change their mind for liking me or thinking that I'm a good or decent guy. And there are plenty of people who do support me, and I'm grateful to all of them. But in either way, please do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that share button, and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. See ya.